So, hello, Mr. Ohachu.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, sir.
Good. So, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine.
Right. So, it is actually my pleasure to welcome to my space today, Mr. Christian Ohachu. And what I try to do is to engage the best minds among us in dialogues that not only challenge us, but also help us to take some introspective looks at ourselves and the world that we live in. It is always my hope that in doing so, we can make our world a much better place. And today, it is indeed my esteemed pleasure to welcome to this space Mr. Christian Ohachu, who is
Thank
an
you.
artist, scriptwriter, producer, and is also the manager of United Production Company. I just prefer to refer to him as Nigeria's exciting filmmaker. He's not the only one who is an exciting filmmaker in Nigeria. But I find his work really challenging and a reminder of the things that we need to be thinking and doing about life and people and community. Mr. Christian Ohachi is a graduate of philosophy in Nnamdi University in Awka, and he was a tutor of English literature at Intech College in Douala, Cameroon. And he's an award-winning writer, producer, and director. He was awarded Best Debater when he was a student at Nnamdi University, although this is not going to be a debate stage. But he won that award in 2016. And
Mm.
he also won an award as the best writer in the National Association of Philosophy Students in 2014, also at Nnamdi Azikiwe University. He is an editor and writer of two published works that I hope to hear more about from him. One is Son, Don't Cry, and the other is Hysteric Scream. Mr. Ohachu's company is built with a vision of helping youths across Africa to be responsible, responsive, and dedicated to African values. He's currently a graduate student pursuing a master's degree in metaphysics at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. I don't know where he has the time for all of that, but I guess it's one of the advantages of youth. Mr. Ohachu, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
One of the things, I think I was just reading about you. I was giving your bio, and when I first read about you, I felt that I thought you lived in Cameroon, but also shuttled between Cameroon and Nigeria, but I'm not so sure. Is that what you do? You go between Cameroon and Nigeria?
Yeah, yeah. I kind of wherever my services are needed, I go there. So it's all about being at the right place at the right time at the right moment to deliver your God-given services to the
Mhm.
community.
Oh, well, that is lovely. So why did you choose to go to Cameroon?
Yeah. To be frank, going to Cameroon was more of like a leap of faith. I was working in Port Harcourt, Nigerian seaport at Oni. So I was the youngest manager in that clearing company under planning. So I was doing very well there, but this thing that people always say, you're doing well, you're doing fine, the finances are growing, the company is growing, but you always felt different. Like this is not where you belong. So this is not where you're supposed to be. So it's not about using your creative ideas to make money, sitting on a table, coming up with a very good plans, good strategy on how to do businesses. A part of me felt like something was missing, but it didn't really start out the way I kind of hoped it would happen. But it took a very strong tragedy, for me to find my purpose. So going to Cameroon was as a result of I I wanted to settle down as every young man that is doing financially well would think of. And let's just say I fell into the wrong hands. And I lost everything I had, and I was devastated. I was angry. I was mad with the whole thing because, you know, I believe to me back then that it was love. So I didn't know what to do again. A certain man walked up to me and told me, you need to go back to where you belong. You need to go back to things that you are naturally called upon by God to do. So, being a philosopher, our concept of God is quite different from the way people understand God. So, I asked the man a little question. I asked him, if I am to leave this path, where will I go from here? I can't just go back to, teaching and stuff like that. At the end of the day, what pays, what matters is how much you have. Money is everything. So the man told me that all this while that you are making money, living fine, traveling to any place you want to go around, were you happy? So that brings back to the question that I've always been a very controversial question in philosophy, happiness. What exactly makes you happy? So I was looking at the man. I don't know the man. I don't know him up to today. I don't even know the man. So the man asked me, are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Do you feel like you're living your God-given purpose? Like, have you found your sense of purpose? So that was an eye-opener for me. So right there, right that very moment, I remember a story my dad once told me, how he started from nothing. He went to a certain city known as Douala. So in Douala, he started from nothing. From there, he was into apprenticeship, and that's where he made his wealth. So that very moment, that was the only thing I could think of. You know, I was just going to go to a place where I don't know anybody and start over. So I came back home. I told my parents that I was going to leave Nigeria. Everybody was asking me to do what, to do what. So when I finally told them I was going to Cameroon, and some of my siblings are not happy about it. Some of them were saying, what is there in Cameroon? They started making a lot of gist like, you want to go there and eat plantain, you want to I started come on with a lot of things to discourage me. So it didn't really make sense to them. But for the first time, I was really motivated. Like I felt that there is something out there that is calling me. I've conquered UNIZIP. Respectfully speaking, I have. And I have done my great stride in academics when it comes to whatever I've done. So, but now this was more of like a new challenge, a new challenge. So I reached out to one of my friends, and my friends told me that I can easily come to Cameroon, that there is no problem with my ideas and everything on my pedigree, that I won't look for a job. So I decided to take the normal route by entering a ferry. So when I got to Cameroon, what I saw was quite shocking. So I discovered that, few bad eggs have already turned things around for we good ones. They always judge you Nigerians. You people are, wicked. I don't know where the challenge started, but wherever it is, I just experienced xenophobic attacks. But I also observed that there are young youths out there, Nigerians, frankly speaking, because of the moral decadence and the lack of parental diligence and seriousness of the parents to understand what is going on with their children, there is this moral laxity and a lot of issues. So I was seeing them going towards the wrong path. So getting into the institution, I saw the reason why I was asked to come to Cameroon. I saw lives that we are wasting. Nobody, nobody has their time. Everybody's just there to get their paycheck. Nobody has anything to say to correct these young ones. So every day people walk up to me and say, sir, thank you for coming. Some they say something like merci. And I go back home and I will sit on my bed and I'll cry. It was not a tears of like loneliness, but tears of I don't know how to describe it. It's indescribable. When you have when someone believes in you, like the person is telling you, sir, thank you for coming. Without you, I wouldn't have passed the GCE, in, Cameroon, or without you,
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. You were
Okay.
frozen for a little while.
Okay. So the general thing about going to Cameroon was it was an act of faith. It was providential. So I believe I was sent there by God because coming to Cameroon was not primarily my dream goal, but it was an act of faith. That is what I believe. I believe that God wanted me to go there to correct some anomalies and, change some lives. And I was very happy that, God found me very worthy to send me on that mission. It was not easy. It was not easy. I faced a lot of challenges and tribulations, but I'll do that over and over again for these youngsters.
Right, let me ask you a question about what you said initially and where you ended now. Initially, you said that as a philosopher, your concept of God is different from the general idea of God. But in your journey, you then found and I still believe very strongly that all of this happened because you responded to the call of God. So, do you find then that God is the same, whether in philosophy or in other ideas? Right. So, I see that we're frozen again, which tends to happen.
Yeah.
You are frozen again, which can happen when
Yeah.
one is talking to someone over there.
Okay.
Um, so, the question that I was asking, I don't know if you got it.
Now I got a question. I got a question. So, well, the answer to what you asked is God is the same for every person, but our understanding of God differs according to our level of exposure and self-awareness. So, to me, people might understand God as just a kind of a being that is out there that is not involved in the affairs of men, but simply just watching, kind of automated, like everything is automated. Why some believe that God is always involved in our daily activities, playing an active role in all we do, why some are using what is known as deterministic point of view, like everything is already determined. If I'm going to be evil, I'm already born that way to be evil. So to me, personally, my understanding of God in in this my level right now is that God has given us a free will. So we all have free will to become whatever we want to become. And if we can identify the paths that God has in plan for us, meaning that God cannot work without your own acceptability of God's will. So it is only when you accept that, okay, fine, I am going to work in accordance with your will. That is when you can appreciate what it means to work for God. But if your understanding of God is just prayer without like doing the other part you have to do in terms of getting acquainted with the realities of life, getting educated, trying to work on yourself to be disciplined. So you are always going to have it very difficult in order for you to understand how God operates. So to me, my understanding of God has really heightened. Now I can really understand that I just need to do my part, believe, discipline, and continue to pray. And whatever happens, it is simply the act and the will of God.
That's very interesting. So, you talked about all of these things, and one of the things that really caught my attention was you talking about the idea that about the experience of someone coming to you and saying things to you, and then you took that leap of faith. Very often, when I look, back, I ask myself the big question around the word if. What if, for example, that person had not spoken to you and it's someone that you didn't know and you still would not be able to recognize? What if you had not responded to the call? What if, we can ask over and over again, what do you think your life will be like right now? And where do you think you might be?
Um, Honestly speaking, Doctor, I believe if I had never had that encounter with the strange, mysterious man, I pretty much think I'm sure I'm still going to be very, successful, but in a very dangerous way. Because one thing about being very intelligent is it depends on how you want to use it. You can use it for good or you can use it for bad. The mind is the mind. The mind is just like a machine. We all know that the nuclear plant can be used for something good. It can as well be converted for, destructive means. So if I had not have met that man, I pretty much would have been carried away by the act of revenge. And the revenge, to the best of my knowledge, I was going to, try to get even with those that caused me pain. So, but meeting that man, the man reminded me of how it all started and what made me happy. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about ego. It wasn't about self-importance, or it was just about selfless love, giving, giving out your service to people and putting smiles on people's face, turning life around. Like back then when I was in university, a couple of friends will ask me, Chris, please, can you explain this handout to me? I don't understand it. So I have one gift, eidetic memory. I don't know. I read things and understand it easily. So, but I have a problem with mathematics. Like anything that has to do with angles is another issue for me. So, well, it has never been with words. It has never been with abstract concept and things like that. So it pretty much come easily for me to assimilate and to understand. So my friends always meet me and say, Christian, please, I've been reading this handout. I can't understand what is going on. And I'll just say, okay, fine, this. So to me, it was natural, At the end of the day, the person goes into the hall, comes out, and the person will say, thank you, Chris, you saved my life today. I would have failed Dr. Professor Iko scores. I would have failed Dr. Bakare's scores and everything. So I feel, I feel happy. I feel honored. So if I had not have met that man, I still very much know that I would have been in a very dangerous path, and that path would not have served humanity for good.
Yeah, that is great, but how did you decide and why did you decide to transition from advancing in philosophy as an academic uh, act, or as that choice as an academic career? Why did you decide to move from there to becoming a filmmaker?
Well, when I came to Cameroon, or before then, before going to Cameroon, I used to write our script. Do people would call me, and when I was teaching, I would just do normal directing. They would do their play. At the end of the day, they would clap and things. I wasn't really taking it really serious, like in a professional sense. I was just doing that as act of hobby, direct, and I was okay. They'll just say, we want this amount of money. I'll say, you guys use the money. It's not like I'm just trying to help out. But coming to Cameroon, I observed one thing that pushed me into filmmaking. I observed that the reading culture was very bad. Students were not eager to read, and we literally begged them to read. You have to beg them to read, and they easily get um, stressed out. I know I was teaching well, but when you come to an environment, you have to understand the root of the problem, their challenges, and you know how to address their challenges. So they prefer to listen to music on their headphones or to watch movies and videos and stuff like that. So I came there, I saw what was going on. So I told them that I was going to find a means to make my teaching very entertaining. So what I did was, instead of using the normal traditional means of teaching with the board and the marker, I transitioned that with the use of voice notes. So I'll ask them, I'll do a voice record because I was also teaching literature. I was also the HOD of literature. So I'll explain the poems and everything. I'll ask them, okay, just go back home, listen to my voice, and come back home and tell me exactly what you have learned. So to my surprise, now when they come back, they'll be like, sir, please, I enjoyed it. I want more of these. Some will tell me that the only reason why I paid attention was because of your voice. So I said, okay, keep listening to my voice. You will do well. So with that again, in terms of William Shakespeare works that I was to teach across the Mongolo, so I'll call them out. I'll call them out from in class. I'll say, okay, you guys come out. I'll give you this certain character. Give you this certain character. Try to encourage them. So, okay, this is what you're going to do now. This thing that is difficult for you to read to understand, we're going to act it out. So you're going to have what is called a pictorial knowledge of it. You see. So this time around, visualize the person doing this, doing this. You understand how do you feel about this character. So as they're acting, they're learning. You see, so they are experiencing it firsthand. So when I give out my test or my exams, they do incredibly well. So I was inspired by God. Why don't you tell this story with a visual form, like in a movie form? Students, young ones, they might not sit down and read a work of 2 hours. But if it's very entertaining and if it's stimulating, they don't mind staying for 5 hours and watch that movie. And in this way, it will be entertaining and they will definitely learn a lot from it. So that gave me the inspiration to transition from normal writing, teaching into filmmaking because my sole purpose of filmmaking is not just to entertain, but to teach, to expose a lot of things that are hidden from the youth and also to bring them out from ignorance into knowledge. So I want them to be wise. I want them to understand the concept of life. Instead of them to learn from first-hand experience, they have to learn from other people's experience, and they will now know how to go about it if they come across such issues. And for them to see the failures, the end of an action. If you take this route, this is how it's going to lead to. If you take this path with discipline, dedication, definitely you're going to reap the reward. Nothing good comes easy. So I transitioned into Mozi because I believe that the best way we can reach across to so many persons right now is if we make what we are doing to be entertaining, to be educative, to be stimulating, then you can pass your message to a greater number of persons and they will enjoy it and they will also send it across to so many other persons that will not find it difficult to experience it.
You
So
know, you
that's
have talked about your relationship with God and how you feel that God has called you to do much of what you do, or everything that you do. And you've talked about how that is a personal relationship. And so it leads me to ask you, as a filmmaker who is also a believer in the power of God and what He gives and how He directs, does that relationship with Him, your faith, does your faith also have any impact on the topics that you choose to make your movies about and how you go about making the movies and the characters that you choose and your plot lines? How does your faith impact any of that?
no. Our God is all knowing God, and our God is very intelligent being, infinite in mind. So as a filmmaker, we live in a world of imagination because one thing about a filmmaker is that you must imagine for you to bring it into reality. So just like a little mind is dependent on a higher mind or a higher power, my mind is finite in nature. The mind of God is infinite. So if I want to create a work that is going to have that's going to stand the test of time, that's going to have a lasting effect on people's life even after I might have gone, I need to understand that there are higher powers. So, and I choose to place my bet with the highest of the highest, which is God. And anytime I am writing anything, I am not just writing my own story, or let me say someone is trying to tell me this is people come to me and say, Chris, can you get me a script? I say, no, I don't do that. I only write when I am inspired to write. So when I want to write a story, I must have experienced a lot of things. I don't just start writing, I have to wait. So if I am to produce any work, I must be directed by God. I've come to that self-awareness, introspection to know how I relate and connect with God. So once I am being inspired to write, I'll write my work the way I have been asked to do it. And I relate with my characters with the way that I have been conditioned to do so. Understanding them, trusting them, even when it seems every other person might not be seeing what I'm saying. But when I meet a character and I see what I want, and I will tell you that you can do this, all the person needs to do is to have faith and a little bit of coaching and self-confidence and valor, as they say in French. Everything will be well. So, combination of God in what I do to me is something I will never, never neglect. Not even for $1 billion, I won't do that because it's really something I know deep down I can't do without. Yeah.
Right. You know, when I first read about you, a few days ago, actually, so, you know, I know that my scheduler was working really hard to try to schedule you. And so it was fascinating to be able to get you as the first interview of the week. And you know, and I said that time is really early for me, but I'm going to do it because I know he's a very busy man. But one of the things that I read was that you said, you know, that in your work, you also try to advance African values in young people. You want them to be able to understand what those values are and to live the African values. So I'm wondering what specifically you were referring to as African values.
Well, to me, African values are those core principles and ethics that defines us as Africans. Now, it doesn't matter the tribe you come from, it doesn't matter the continent, it doesn't matter the nation you come from in Africa, but there are some established principles that are generic in Africa. For example, we respect our elders in Africa. We respect elders. Imagine if I enter a train station and an elderly man is standing, and as a young person, I'm seated. Now, there is no law that obliges that you should stand up, let the elderly man sit. But common sense and an African wisdom should tell you that you need to vacate your chair for the elderly person. So it is endemic in us, like it's something that is natural for Africans. So, but if you are not taught these African values, you might be so naive for you to become so, in your mind, you think you're intelligent or, you're trying to advocate for your right. I don't care. So the African values I was talking about are those core African values that Chinua Achebe, talked about, Wole Soyinka, that the great men of old and my grandfather, my grandmom and things like that. One is Africans are known for honesty when it comes to, very pertinent issues. They will tell you that you need to say the truth in this matter, like in land things and so but all those things are eroding the youth of these days now. But back in the days, my dad would always say that you should always, always tell the truth when it matters. You have to tell the truth. So another thing again about the African values is that the African values, we used to believe in hard work. Nothing good comes easy. But the youth we have these days, they simply just want to have it at a platter of gold without hard work. Things are not done that way. Before somebody's called a professor, a doctor, you know what you went through. You were very humble. You have to learn from people. You have to show, good character. You have to be disciplined before you be accorded that title. But these days, nobody even talk about education anymore. You ask a young person, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? The person is telling you that I want to buy these expensive cars, lavish money, and things like that. So I ask the question again, even if I give you this money right now, do you think you have the mental capacity and the moral reasonability for you to control that amount of money? Don't you think that what you're doing, you're just getting liabilities and not assets? The person will tell you, I don't care. Okay, how do you intend to go about it? The person will tell you, well, I'll go into all these popularly known as they call it the G guys or Yahoo, I don't know, whatever they call it. They just want to make quick money. So, but that is not an African value. We Africans will believe that if you want to succeed in life, first, humility. You must be humble. And when you're humble, that means you are teachable. They can teach you the process. And in learning of this process for you to become something, then you begin to do what? To imbibe this knowledge. You discipline yourself on how to get to that point. Now, the person teaching you will also see the need to teach you more because of your humility. Now you are growing not just in stature, but in wisdom. Now, when the time comes for you to start your own, you're going to start your own with what you have learned and with the wise men that are also there as counselors when the time comes, whenever you need them. They will always be there to support you, to advise you go this way. And these will also help in order to reduce the vices we have in our society. Because I do say this often, if you want to stop crime, crime, terrorism issues, if you don't train the young ones, if you don't give them the knowledge they need, if you don't make them to become an asset, they will invariably become a problem to the society. But an educated man, you must not be educated in terms of the four walls of the university. You still have informal education, learning of handwork or things like that. We should encourage these things. So when you have these things, you think twice before going into killing, trying to do ritual or anything, and those kind of nonsense that they engage in just simply because they want to make money. African values, we praise character, discipline, integrity. These are the things I grew up knowing. These are the things I learned from some old men. If there are land disputes, an old man stands up. He removes whatever he's wearing, places his feet on the ground, and everywhere becomes very quiet. The man will speak that the nature and every person here should bear witness to what he's saying, that he's saying nothing but the truth. And at the end of his statement, you don't need any interpreter to tell you that this man has spoken the truth. He's not siding on a person. You cannot buy him with money. That is integrity. He did not just become wise immediately he got old. He was trained in the rudiments and in the principles of the African values. Once upon a time, our women are taught to be very virtuous in nature. They are taught to be managers. They are multitasked. Our women are taught to be very wise in terms of knowing how to understand the mood of their husband. But this time around, it is eroding the young ones. The young ones no longer care about these things. The only thing they care about now is about money, expensive lifestyle, and things like that. And when they now get of age, they begin to say, there are no good men out there. So you see, my African values, I want to see a young man that is disciplined, humble, respectful, that fears God, that understands that no matter what you become, you cannot be above the community. You must understand that you are meant to serve the community. That is your job. We are communalistic in nature, not individualistic in nature. You have money, what have you done? How many lives have you changed? Have you transformed? Then your own little capacity, what can people say of you? So these are the African values that I was talking about. And these are things that I hope to inculcate in our young persons that are growing up. Because I believe that if we want to change the society for good, it is only through these means that we can do so.
So if you take a look across Africa, you're from Nigeria, you live in Cameroon and work in Cameroon and you shuttle between Cameroon. and Nigeria. In Cameroon, I think the president is about 94 years old. And we also know what many Nigerians think of the political system in Nigeria. So do you feel sometimes that you're swimming upstream in trying to inculcate these values in the young people?
Yeah, I must say the truth is at some point it's very discouraging, it's very painful when you are really making, a lot of effort and it seems as if some things are mitigating your effort or impeding your effort. So, because one of the challenges we have here is that first, I must say, the young ones that have been given the opportunity to prove that the young persons are ready to take the mantle of leadership, they have not lived up to the expectation. And it goes back to that saying that they are not ready. Now, they're not ready also sends a signal to these elderly ones at the seat of power that we are naive, we are not serious for business. And as a result of that, the few good ones that are left, they feel discouraged. And we start experiencing what is called brain drain. Because I can't believe that Cameroon, the way they welcomed me, the way they gave me the platform for me to transform lives there. And I know I can be of better service to my own country, Nigeria. But I think it's a biblical saying, a prophet is never recognized in his own town. You see. So you go out there, people see you as one kind of a messiah. They are ready to work with you, but in your own place where I should be transforming my own place, but the opportunities are not there. The frustrations are there, governmental policies and a lot of issues that you have to deal with. So at some point you say you give up. So the challenges are much from governmental neglect, not giving enough adequate incentives, a lot of these things, encouragement. So it kills that passion. Because I have a friend back then when we were in the university, this guy was very good, he's an engineer, he's very good, but he was not given the encouragement and he left. I think right now he's in London and he's doing well. But at times I do communicate with him. I do ask him if you are given a second chance to come back here and use your knowledge and everything that you have learned to better the life of Nigerians. He will tell me no, that he's not coming back. So it's very disheartening because we are supposed to be transforming lives in our own country. But funny enough, we are not giving that recognition, we're not giving that respect, and is a very big challenge. It's a very big
So,
challenge, but we are hopeful.
yeah. So how do you distribute your films, and how can any of us who really likes your work support you?
Okay, well, our thing we distribute our movies. We have a YouTube channel, though we are yet to upload the one we just premiered. But we premiered in Cameroon and in Nigeria, I think 3 days ago. So we are still going to upload on YouTube. They also make DVDs and plays and try to give out to people, to schools. Like we say, we just want people to learn, a lot from the movie and get to be acquainted with the message you're trying to pass across. So we also have places where when the time is right, also premiere too.
What
Yeah.
I want to do is to actually, I want to play a clip, from one of your movies. And I would
Okay.
like you to explain what it means
Okay.
in the context of
Yeah.
the values that you try to show,
Okay.
and what you try to show.
Why does it seem like I'm the only one worried here? Do you understand that this is your baby too? This is your son!
If you want to go and smoke, look for S1 can smoke, not in my father's house.
Now leave this place.
Dad!
came just to tell you I'm deeply sorry for hurting you and...
My mother kicked me out of the house, all because of you!
I want you to try to explain that clip, because it seems to me that this has multiple stories, this single clip. So I'm describing that as a clip. I want you to try to explain that within the context of what you're trying to portray in your work, and also how it was received.
Okay, this particular plot you just showed right now, this was trying to get the underlying problem of teenage problems. The first is the family. Dysfunctional family has a lot to contribute in terms of negative effect on the psychological upbringing of a child. So in this particular clip, we can see a young person, a young boy that is in school. He's depressed because of what is going on between the father and the mom. Now, he's traumatized. He doesn't understand it and he feels helpless about it. Now, in trying to have this conversation with his friend in school, who in his own way of thinking that he was going to help him, led him into joining a kind of, a cult group, and he started smoking and engaging in different kind of reprehensible behavior. So, which invariably also connected with a young girl that is innocent, also experiencing the same thing in her own family. Now, them coming together brought about unwanted pregnancy, and this unwanted pregnancy also endangered the relationship, the particular relationship again experienced in these two families. So you see, the thing here is that this one problem can have different kind of splinters. Yes, so it can have splinters, it can elongate to different other issues. But if the root of the problem was tackled, then it can go a long way to solve the problem instead of having a vicious cycle. So what I was trying to portray here is that we must understand that the institution of marriage is very important. The institution of marriage is very important and must be cherished, must be protected, and each parent must understand.
Okay, thank you for that.
Oh, I'm crying.
Expected of them.
When you smoke cannabis, how do you feel?
It's like being on top of the world. I feel like I'm floating and the world is mine.
I don't think I can be on a tree full of fruits while you die of hunger. Bro, I'm fine. In a pala. In a pala.
Why are you nagging me to death?
You will never have peace until you're dead.
I can see you have decided to die a poor man. In fact, I intend opening a school.
It will be the last time, the very last time I will condone this kind of reprehensible and idiotic attitude of yours.
You know the fear face.
A life for a life.
So there are multiple clips in that clip. So I'd like you to try to explain to us those final plots combined in that clip that I just showed.
Okay, so the plots, like I pointed out earlier, here we are trying to show how little problems can, elongate to multiple issues. And it will now be very difficult to solve these problems at once, starting from the main credo of socialization, which happens to be family. So marriage is a very strong institution. It's not something to joke with. So when two persons that are supposed to do their job are not doing their job and they are neglecting their duty, it will definitely have a very strong effect on these youngsters. So the other plot again is when you fail to do your job, someone else is going to do it for you. The question is, will the person now do a good job or a bad job? Since the parents have refused to do their job, now these youngsters are now trying to solve the problem about, just like as a psychotherapist, you talk to people, help them to understand their sense of purpose in life. So they now take some of these questions to the youngsters, and the youngsters will give their own advice according to their own understanding. Now, go smoke cannabis and forget your worries. Now, smoking of cannabis, it makes you feel like you're a Superman. And from there, the young girl in question too, she's lonely, neglected by the parents, and two, teen unwanted pregnancies out there. You know, the teachers' issues of life. Teachers again, you have a very big dream. You want to have a school and stuff like that. No government incentive. People are telling you that you're wasting your time. How much are they paying teachers? Do you think academicians are recognized and stuff like that? Trying to push you out of line. So we're trying to show a clip where some, like standing for what is right, even against all. And also to try to tell parents that you have a duty. That duty is what you swore before God and before men to do. So you don't have to leave it for anybody. You have an active role to play. So you don't just become reactive. Instead of, you're supposed to be proactive, not reactive. So these children that are given to you, they are your responsibilities. Don't neglect it. Don't just leave it for teachers. They are in school. You have a part to play. So not just paying school fees or financial, psychological aspect of it, emotional aspect of it, all these things must be balanced for you to have a complete person. Then we also talked about forgiveness. Marriage is about forgiveness. The things you did in the past can actually come to haunt you. So you might be having problem. Why is it that you don't understand your husband? Instead of you to sit down and ask yourself this question, where it all started, where can we find a middle ground? So, but you people become two different persons living in the same house. Now, the young ones that are there with you will be the ones to suffer the consequences of it. So, our movie, or this clip you watched here, talks about different themes. One is drug abuse, parental neglect. Also talks about knowing your passion and remaining true to it, no matter what it takes. And do not be carried away by the circumstances of life, knowing your ground and standing your ground. And also, it's also a message to the youngsters that a single mistake does not define you. We all get a second chance. So, and there will always be a second chance as long as you're willing to work on it and change for good.
Right. So just one final question for you, and I can let you go and enjoy the rest of your day. So what is the next step in your career as a filmmaker? I generally don't like to ask people, where do you see yourself in 5, 10 years? And what I like to ask is if you, let's say you had a crystal ball, I would only be asking you to look 2 years down the road. Where do you see your career in 2 years as a filmmaker? And where
Well, as
would
if,
you like it to be? And once again, you round that up by talking about how we can support your work.
okay. Well, it's only God that knows tomorrow, but if you ask me, I know in 2 years, I hope to be a very great filmmaker that have really impacted in people's lives, that have brought families together, that have touched lives and also promoted African values, because the next project we have is really going to dwell more on that. So it's an epic movie. So we hope to go back to the roots and really show what it means to be a typical African and talk about our culture. So I hope in the next 2 years, Doctor, that I must have done great things in movie world. Yeah.
Right. As someone who's been around for a long time, not just from the angle of chronological age, but also, professionally as well, I can assure you of this, that people who do things from the golden part of their hearts really get to reap a lot of rewards. And I know that when I read about you, I read a description of you as a humanitarian. And how your work actually focuses not only on building people and communities, but how you also like to give back. And in talking to you today, I have really got to learn about how, in a special place in your heart, is how to impact our youths and how to develop them and make their futures really as bright as possible. There is great reward for that, and I'd like to encourage you to keep doing the films that you're making. And from my part, I really promise that I will do my best to continue to support your work. And I was really touched by watching the plots in the clip that I showed, because they really speak not only to the human struggles, but also to the challenges that society faces, and the work that I get to do as a psychotherapist. Because in those plots, there were all of those things that you described, and how also intimate partner violence can arise in some cases, and how children can be misled from the examples that is here around them. Continue to do great work. And I look forward to seeing more and more of your films. And I hope we stay in contact.
We will do it, doctor.
Take care. And maybe just say some final words for our audience.
Okay, well, I want to tell our audience that, I'm really privileged and grateful to God. And also, I really appreciate them making out time to stream live. So they should continue to dream, hold on to their dreams, and believe in what they're doing. Definitely, they will get there. They will get there.
Thank you very much. I know that among the people watching us now are people from Ghana and Nigeria as well. And so I think that we are all very proud of you.
Thank you.
And continue to do what you're doing.
Thank you, doctor.
Stay well.
Thank you.
Yeah, right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.